Good afternoon. Welcome to the weekly livestock market update. I'm Brownfield anchor reporter Megan Grebner with us as always to talk all things markets. University of Missouri's Scott Brown. Good afternoon, Scott.
Good afternoon, Megan.
You know what? Today's broadcast is brought to you by USDA's Protect Our Pigs. Don't let African swine fever wipe out America's pig population. Learn more by visiting USDA.gov and searching Protect Our Pigs. Now that the business is out of the way, let's talk what's going on this week with markets.
Yeah, so unfortunately this week a little lower tone in these markets. Start on the live cattle side, down $2.20 this week. Those feeder cattle markets were also 1 to 3 lower generally this week. On the futures side, the October live cattle futures contract closed down $2.20, and the September feeder cattle futures contract closed down $3.10. Part of that was due as corn prices. September corn futures were up 43 1/4 this week. On the beef side, lower beef prices as well. We were down about $1.15 in that choice box beef price. That now puts choice box beef prices nearly $84 below year ago levels. So a little different than where we were a year ago. And by the way, live cattle 1850 above year ago levels. It just tells you what's been happening to the margin from farm to wholesale. On the hog side, cash barrels and gilts were down 675 this week. The October lean hog futures contract was down 2 1/4. We also saw the pork cutout value fall down nearly $14.75. Hams, bellies, and butts were all lower this week, contributing to that lower pork cutout value.
All right, we're going to talk cold storage and we're going to talk livestock slaughter coming in a little bit. I do want to make mention, though, really the markets we're starting to see kind of an uptick in corn prices again, and that's really has to have some cattle producers thinking about what's going to happen in terms of the bottom line overall.
Yeah, for sure. So these feed costs are going to continue to stay high. We're going to keep chasing what the ultimate crop gets in the bin on the corn side as we go through the next 60 days or so. I will, however, keep saying that there's some good times, I believe, coming for cattle prices as we look ahead. Last week's cattle on feed report didn't start us off in a good situation, but at some point we're not going to have those cattle going into the feed yards, and so there's still opportunity. Risk management, as you and I talk about quite often, still important to the mix.
All right, let's talk weekly slaughter numbers and take a look at how we did on the cattle and the hog side of things there.
Yeah, so USDA is telling us for the week ending August 27th, they're on 678,000 head of cattle. That's 17,000 head above a week ago and 25,000 head above a year ago. On the hog side, a run this week of 2.393 million head of hogs. That's just down 2,000 head from a week ago, but 38,000 head lower than where we were a year ago at this time.
When we're looking at that in year-to-year comparison, are we starting to see things, at least on the hog side of things, maybe narrow a little bit year over year in comparison, percentage-wise?
Yeah, we certainly started the year with a larger decline in hog slaughter that's been narrowing as we go. We now sit there at down 3.5% year to date when you look at the weekly estimated slaughter numbers. While on the cattle side, up 1.2%, and runs like we have this week, continuing to try to make that grow just a little bit. So cow slaughter factors in here. I've talked about weather a lot. I'll just say I think that's important to the runs that we're seeing today as well.
And I think something we're probably going to continue to talk about for the rest of the year.
We are not done talking dry weather, Megan.
I doubt it. All right, let's talk cold storage numbers. And really kind of interesting, especially when we get into the pork side of things.
Yeah, that's right. So we've had growing pork supplies. Growing total meat supplies. Let me get the right word out here today. When you look at July, end of July, 2.3 billion pounds of red meat and poultry in storage. That's 13.5% above where we were a year ago at this time. On the beef side, 511 million pounds of beef at the end of July. That's 27.4% above a year ago. On the pork side, 530 million pounds. That's 20% above year ago levels. I like to always remind us about pork bellies, given how much you like bacon, up 53% relative to a year ago. But I'd remind us a year ago was very tight. So I don't want to make too much out of what's there. In fact, the growth we've been seeing in red meat and poultry stocks for much of 2022 really gets us just back to levels we would have seen pre-pandemic.
Is that a good position to be in? I know sometimes we think about it could be resulting in a weakening demand, right? But is it also good to make sure that we're not so tight in those supplies?
Yeah, so yes, for sure. And I will say there's some level of pipeline here that we want to keep. And in fact, 2021, we got awful tight relative to just pipeline stock. So, let's keep in mind that where we sit today. So, again, setting about 2.3 billion pounds. You go back to early 2020, so pre-pandemic, we started the year there right about 2.3 billion pounds.
All right, let's get into livestock slaughter numbers. And interesting as we take a look again on what's going on in the cattle, but then also the beef cow slaughter side of things.
Yeah, so lots of interesting things here. All right, so I'll start by saying beef production, 2.25 billion pounds, July of 22, is down 3% relative to a year ago. I start there because part of that is cattle dressed weight's down 6 pounds relative to a year ago, added to that reduction in beef production. Steer slaughter was actually down 8.2%, by the way. It's heifer slaughter up 4.8, and beef cow slaughter, your and I's favorite discussion, up 10.6. That got us less beef production. So I will keep saying drought matters here in terms of beef cow slaughter. You look at a couple of the federal regions here, Region 6 and Region 7. So the states that I focus on from a drought perspective: Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, Nebraska, Kansas. Their year-to-date federally inspected beef cow slaughter more than 30% above year-ago levels. By the way, you just look in the last 12 weeks for Region 7. That's the Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska region in total, 41.6% higher than where we were a year ago. Those are phenomenal numbers, Megan. And again, just back to the point of where do cattle prices go, we're going to head higher. That's a lot of what I see in this data. Now, we didn't talk pork. On the pork side, hog slaughter down 4.9% in July relative to a year ago. Hog dressed weight's up 2 pounds, so that took a little bit of the reduction in hog slaughter away from pork production, which was only down 3.9% as a result.
When we look on I'm going to jump back to cattle for just a second, talking about the reduction in beef production. How much are we paying attention to not just the total amount, but the weights that we're slaughtering at too? How does that come into play? And does that have an indication to maybe a mindset or what's going on the backside of things?
Yeah, so I certainly think higher corn prices have maybe curbed a little bit of where those dressed weights have been going. We were finding ourselves in a situation where weights always just keep getting heavier and heavier, and COVID-19 did nothing but even push that higher. But now we're back to where we're actually sliding below year-ago levels. Keeps beef supplies in a little better check. It actually makes the hole maybe deeper when we talk about less beef production in 2023. I will say, don't forget, all right? So heifer slaughter up 4.8%, steer slaughter down 8.2%. That again reminds us that we're not holding females back to go in that herd either. So beyond the fact that cow slaughter has been high, the mix of steers and heifers going to slaughter suggests we aren't holding heifers back. So I still say that day comes. It just is taking, we want that instantaneous, and we haven't gotten there yet.
And we can't. It doesn't happen quickly at all.
That's right.
Scott, that's really all we have to talk about this week. It is a busy Friday for us next Friday. What are we watching then?
Yeah, so a lot of interesting reports out of USDA. So we'll get a overall U.S. trade outlook, also a restaurant performance index. USDA provides then farm income estimates late week, and we'll finish with the jobs report.
Scott, it's always great to see you. We will see you next Friday.
Sounds good. Take care, Megan.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Protect Our Pigs from USDA. Don't let African swine fever wipe out America's pig population. Learn more by visiting USDA.gov and searching Protect Our Pigs. If you'd like to ask Scott and I some questions, or you have comments about the broadcast, go to brownfieldagnews.com. You can submit them there. You can also sign up for a weekly livestock market update e-newsletter to have this program delivered to your email box every Saturday morning. Have a great weekend. I'm Megan Grebner for Brownfield.